What's up, guys? I feel like it's been a while since I've done an episode, probably about like a week or two. Lots changed actually. I ended up selling the Evo. If you guys like Evos, I'm sorry. I just couldn't do it anymore. So the main reason was, every time I took the car out, it just kept breaking. Something just silly would happen, and it's really tough to find OEM parts these days. You can still get them, but I mean, just for basic, gaskets and stuff, I mean, it's just insane prices for, Evo stuff because they don't really have any like aftermarket companies still making OEM parts. So you have to buy like actual Mitsubishi. Um, so that's the main reason I kind of ditched the Evo and decided to go with a new platform. So I was doing a lot of research and I was looking into like E46 M3s. The really good cars make like 320 horse stock and stuff like that. But a lot of them had high mileage, and there's just like three major maintenance things that you have to get done. And I mean, all around total probably would have been like $8,000 to actually get a solid car set up, and that's just maintenance alone with one of those E46s. So I also contemplated building my E36 more. I think I'm just gonna kind of keep that car pristine and not hack it up. They're becoming kind of rare these days, so um, figured I don't know. Started looking at other options like I was looking at S2000s. S2000 market is just insane right now. I mean, you'd have to pay almost 20 grand just to get a clean, like, vert, no hard top, and, higher mileage again. And with those F22 motors, it's kind of tough to get parts. Rebuild costs on the motor are pretty high because they have this special coating on the cylinder walls. So trust me, I've done research on tons of cars. I've had like 5 different friends, ask me to buy their Miatas, and I'm like, not about that at all. So I kind of went back to my roots and, thought about really what chassis dominates in motorsports, right? Usually have the same sort of groups of cars, and Corvettes have always been sort of at the top of that food chain just because they're so cheap for what you're getting from a stock based car. There's a ton of aftermarket support. They already handle really well from the factory, and just throwing coilovers, deleting leaf springs, bushings. I mean, you have a track animal pretty much. Cooling system upgrades, so stuff like that. So I was looking into C6s, another base model. I'm like, those don't really do it for me. And I already had one of those. I was looking into C5 base models, and I'm like, on the fence about it. And then I was looking into C5 Z06s, and I'm like, this is actually, I found a couple within my price range, and I'm like, this is getting interesting. I mean, they got 400 horsepower stock, pretty much the same chassis components of even like a C7 Vet, like a brand new one, and they were fairly cheap. So I suppose I could reveal my car now. I ended up getting a C5 Z06. It's only got 30,000 miles on it, and it's pretty much in pristine condition, although it has a little bit of an overheating issue that I'm going to be tackling today. But yeah, I mean, this car is mint, and I mean, for a dedicated track car, what I'm trying to build, I mean, it really wouldn't take more than 10 grand to probably build an all-out crazy track car, canyon car too, with one of these chassis. So, and I was honestly surprised by the amount of power it had for the amount that it weighs, less than the C7, and has a little bit less power than C7, but I mean, it feels plenty as fast. So probably going to be doing some more weight reduction mods and just tons of different stuff, hacking it up pretty good. I mean, this car is pretty pristine as well, and the value is going up, but well-sorted track cars also go for a lot of money. So I'm going to try to do tasteful mods and not really do anything that's, you know, not going to appeal to the track guy market. I guess, you know, I'll probably start a build series on this car, do some point of view videos as I, you know, make this thing better and completely transform it. So that way you can see the progress of how it looks in the canyons and seeing how much faster I get with the car. Gonna be bringing it to probably NASA events, or I think it's called the High Performance Driving Experience group. They do time trials and things like that. So I'm gonna try to get into that stuff a little bit. But man, I've seen C5 Corvettes at the top of, you know, every single, you know, competitive driving you know, club there is. So, and there's a reason for it. They're so lightweight and double wishbone suspension front and rear. So I mean, these things have a ton of potential. So I'm gonna be working on some things today. If you want to stick around, that's cool. If not, at least you got to see the new car. So first order of business is swapping out the thermostat. I'm pretty sure that's an issue because I was letting the car warm up from cold and it got to almost like 220, and the lower radiator hose was still cold where it actually comes out of the thermostat. So I'm pretty sure it's stuck. So everything always ends up escalating quickly in my garage. And I had some valve train noise on this side and overheating problems. So I wanted to check to see if I had any like head gasket issues. And I don't know, I'm seeing some like milky residue on the inside of the valve covers. Let me look at this side too. This side has a lot more, but I don't know. I was looking in the forums and they said that's pretty normal. I don't know. I guess I'll throw it back together and with the new thermostat to see if it overheats again, but I don't know. It's a little strange. Just gonna keep an eye on it and see what happens. I mean, if it's truly a blown head gasket, then, you know, you're gonna see more milky residue coming out of here. So hopefully that's not the case. Since I just bought the car, I don't want to actually enjoy it. But shit happens. I went on a quick little test drive here. Coolant temps are looking pretty good. It actually didn't get above 200 degrees. I did put a lower temp thermostat in though. So I'm actually gonna take this out to the canyons, do a small little test run, and probably I really want to test, you know, the engine and brakes right now. I know the handling isn't going to be great. Front tires are dry rotted and all the suspension bushings are like 1,000 years old and they all squeak and the rubber is totally deteriorated. So I can't imagine it handling very well, but I guess you guys will come along for the ride. And I guess I'll review this car too, since it is new to me, and how it compares to the C7. And I used to have a C6 before this too, so interesting to see, you know, what the comparison would be like. This LS6 is actually has a little bit more power than an LS2, so curious what that's going to be like. So right off the bat with this thing, coming from my newer Vets, I mean, this interior just reminds me of like sitting in like a black wet garbage bag. Like everything is like, it just feels like cheap vinyl and like super slippery, and I don't know, I don't like it at all. This steering wheel is really big. I'm probably gonna switch to an actual race wheel. And then let's see some other things with this. The shifter, for some reason it grinds going down into second, and you may see that in the video when I'm driving it. I'm trying to avoid and spare this transmission, but this is a normal T56, so I don't know what the deal is. I think I got a bad synchro, second gear synchro. So power-wise, compared to some of my other cars, there's a lot of like lack of torque in the bottom of the pedal. Now this is drive-by-wire in one of GM's earlier cars with drive-by-wire, but I mean there's a lot of lack of torque in the beginning, and then you get halfway through the pedal and it's just like all on at once. So I'm sure that can all be tuned. I'm gonna probably get HP tuners for this thing and mess with some settings. I want to change when the fan comes on at a lower temperature, things like that. Let's see. The actual steering itself, there's a lot of play on center. I'm probably going to be swapping this out with a C6 Z06 steering rack. That's what I had in my other car. Just a lot less turns, lock to lock, and you don't get that on center play. They really revised the rack in those newer cars. Let's see, what else? I guess we'll do some driving. Let's get out here and I'll kind of give you my initial impressions of how it handles and power delivery and brakes. The brakes actually feel pretty good right now. They're on the small side, and again, you can actually swap in C6 Z06 calipers and rotors right onto this car, so that's really neat to be able to swap stuff in between a C5 and a C6. So we'll see how she does. We're just gonna ease into it here and slowly build up speed as I gain more confidence with the car. Like I said, this is literally my first time driving it. I just drove it home, so I could already tell that the steering rack is really slow. Definitely need a lot of steering input. And with the bad bushings, it wants to sort of like dart around all over the road. It's not very direct feeling. I have a full poly bushing kit coming, and I'm going to be pressing out all the bushings and, you know, replacing everything in there, so should handle a lot tighter. These things do actually have some fairly big sway bars, these actual Z06s, so there's barely any body roll, to be honest. So far, a couple corners, it feels pretty good. Yeah, it really doesn't feel too bad. Not too bad so far. There's quite a bit of body roll right there, but that's to be expected. Just past that copper. Luckily I wasn't going too fast. Definitely got some torque to get out of these corners, that's for sure. That's one thing that was super annoying about my Evo. There was just a ton of turbo lag anytime I had corner exit, and it just felt like I was losing a ton of momentum. I'm really glad the car's not overheating. It's not even getting above 200 degrees. Let's check the oil temp. Oil temp is normal. I want to get in this back section here and beat on it a little bit more and really stress this thing out and see how it does, but so far so good. Sure, brakes feel really good too, and for a stock car I'm actually pretty impressed. And for blown suspension and shocks and bushings, I mean, this thing actually gets around corners. Not bad at all. Ooh, there's that second gear grind. A lot of power, man. This actually feels like it has more mid-range than my C7, honestly. Ship on the straights.